Okay, we're looking at section 7.5. So you didn't have to do 7.1, 7.3, or 7.4. So now we're looking at classifying some other angles. So take a look at the try these. It says name the parallel sides in each quadrilateral. So a quadrilateral means a four-sided shape. And parallel sides are identified with arrows. So here, if there's a single arrow, those are parallel. If there's a double arrow, those sides are parallel. Here, there's only two sides that are parallel because the other ones aren't identified. And remember that parallel lines means they are the same distance apart. So some parallel sides in the first one, AD, and we use parallel symbols. So two big lines that are parallel to BC, and we can also do AB parallel to DC. Over here, we can do EH parallel to FG, right? And so many flags, so here's an example, many flags show parallel lines, which are always the same distance apart. That's what I just said. And perpendicular lines, which are at right angles. This is the flag of the Franco-Yukonese community, the French-Canadian residents of Yukon. The colors are blue, white, and yellow. I've got a black and white here, as is in your workbook, but blue, white, yellow, I'm sure. Which lines inside the flag are parallel? Mark them using matching arrowheads. So this looks parallel. You could get a ruler to check, but we're going to assume that one, that one, that one, and that one are parallel. Other than that, I mean, the outside, obviously they're parallel, but it says inside the edges of the flag. Then this one over here, I'm going to use two arrowheads because that would be parallel with that side there. It says label the corners of the rectangular flag A, B, C, D. So A, B, C, D. Typically you go around the outside. You wouldn't go A, B, C, D. Then name two pairs of parallel sides. So that would be AB parallel to DC, and then AD parallel to BC. Perpendicular sides, that meets at 90 degrees. So there, 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 and there. So AD is perpendicular. So the symbol we use is an upside down T because a T, they meet at 90 degrees. So AD is perpendicular to DC. AD is also perpendicular to AB. And then we could do the same on the other side. We could do DC is perpendicular to CB, and then AB is perpendicular to BC. Okay, so here we've used that parallel symbol. I kind of do it on a slant so it doesn't look like ones, and then I use that perpendicular symbol. Complete the following statement. In a rectangle, the opposite sides are, so in a rectangle, what about these opposite sides? So they are parallel. So they are parallel. And the adjacent sides are perpendicular. That's what we just found out, perpendicular, from the statements 2 and 3. Then it says draw a flag that does not include parallel or perpendicular lines in its interior design. So what could we do? I'll do a little rectangle here. There's a flag. We'll use some straight lines. So not parallel and perpendicular. So we could do, I don't know, a triangle, something like that. Okay, so those aren't parallel or perpendicular. I mean, it could be maybe perpendicular there, but it doesn't look quite 90 degrees. So maybe you have something like that. Maybe you then have a different, oops, that moves it. something like that. Ooh, that looks close to being perpendicular, so I'm going to move that around. So something like that. I don't know. You can decide whatever you would like for that. Okay. Then it says many angles are formed by two lines and a transversal. Below, lines P1 and P2 are intersected by T, a transversal. So it just means it crosses over. If you think of the Trans-Canada Highway, Trans-Canada means it goes all the way across Canada. So this line is going all the way across the two other lines, P1 and P2. So it says name all 8 pairs of adjacent supplementary angles. So remember, supplementary add to 180, and they have to be adjacent. So basically in each crisscross here, so we would have 1 and 2, 2 and 4, 4 and 3, 3 and 1. I'm just kind of going around the circle. Then here in the next one, 5 and 6, 6 and 8, 8 and 7, 7 and 5. So here's some important definitions. Pairs of angles can be described in other ways. For example, corresponding angles. So let's look at the diagram. So 1 and 5 are corresponding, and 2 and 6. So basically they're both above the two lines and on the same side of the transversal. These are both above and same side. Okay, you can also look at below. So you could go 3 and 7 are corresponding, and 4 and 8. The way of remembering is they can form an F. So if I draw this down here and here, this angle and this one are corresponding. Or I could do an upside down F here and here, and this one are corresponding. We'll talk about what happens if those lines are parallel, because there'll be a relationship between them. Opposite angles, it says an example of 1 and 4. Okay, so here I'm just going to erase what I have. So 1 and 4 are opposite. So you can see from that cross, they don't touch each other. So they're opposite to each other. And then 2 and 3. And then these ones are opposite to each other. And then the same, we could do it down here. 6 and 7, 5 and 8. Okay, there has to be an intersection point. Then alternate interior angles, an example is angle 3 and 6. I'm just going to erase this again. Okay, so angle 3 and 6. Now they're called alternate interior. Take a look at the two lines that were given. Both of those are between them, so they're interior, but they're on alternate sides, opposite sides of the transversal. And so the way of remembering that is, let me just use red, is kind of a funny looking Z. Okay, so that angle and that angle are alternate interior. Or a backwards Z. That angle and that angle are alternate interior. An alternate exterior, okay, an example is 1 and 8. Again, I'll erase that. So 1 here and 8. So notice that they're on alternate sides of the transversal, but they're exterior to the two lines P1 and P2. Exterior means outside. Okay, so similarly, we could look at this and this one, because they're on alternate sides of the transversal on the outsides of the two lines. Okay, so here's the definition if you need to look at them in more detail. All right, what other pairs of corresponding angles, opposite angles, and alternate angles are in the diagram above? So we already talked about some of those. So let's go back. practice. Okay, so they've already noted that 1 and 5, so this one and this one, and 2 and 6. So remember, I said that we could use the F, and 4 and 8, we do an upside down F, a backwards F, and 3 and 7. So 4 and 8, 3 and 7. And then opposite angles. Okay, so opposite angles. Well, what were listed? 1 and 4, 2 and 3. So we'll look down at this part of the diagram. 5 and 8, 6 and 7. And then alternate interior angles. Okay, so alternate interior angles. What was listed was 3 and 6. So then we would have 4 and 5. And again, kind of a backwards Z, 4 and 5. And alternate exterior, what was listed was 1 and 8. And so our other ones would be 2 and 7. Okay, so those are just some definitions. In the next lesson, we'll talk about what happens if these two lines, P1 and P2, are parallel, because then there's some relationships between those angles. But that's the lesson.